whoever you are, come, 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 whoever you are, come, 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 whoever you are, come, come, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, come, whoever you are, come, 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 even if you have broken your vow 1,000 times. Come, even if you've been waiting for a miracle to come. Just come, come, whoever you are. Come, 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 whoever you are. Come, just come, come, whoever you are. Come, 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 whoever you are. Come, come. Shuva, 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 yet again come. Shuva, 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 yet again come. Oh, shuva, 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 yet again come. Oh, shuva, 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 yet again whoever you are, whoever you are. Come, come, whoever you are, come, 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 wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, come, whoever you are, come, 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 even if you have broken your vow 1,000 times. Shuva, yet again come. Shuva, 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 yet again come. Oh, Shuva, 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 yet again come. Oh, Shuva, 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 yet again Whoever you are, whoever you are, come, come, whoever you are, come, 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 wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, come, whoever you are, come, 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 even if you have broken your vow 1,000 times. Come, even if you've been waiting for a miracle to come. Just come, come, whoever you are. Come, 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 whoever you are. Come, just come, come, whoever you are. Come, 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 whoever you are. Come, come. Shuva, 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 yet again come. Shuva, 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 yet again come. Shuva, 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 yet again come. Oh, Shuva, 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 yet again whoever you are. whoever you are. Whoever you are, come, 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 whoever you are, come, 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 whoever you are, come, 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 whoever you are, come, come, wanderer, worshipper, ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, come, whoever you are, come, 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 even if you have broken your vow 1,000 times. Come, even if you've been waiting for a miracle to come. Just come, come, whoever you are. Come, 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 whoever you are. Come, just come, come, whoever you are. Come, 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 whoever you are. Come, come. Shuva, 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 yet again come. Shuva, 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 yet again come. Oh, shuva, shuva.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Everyone here and on the great beyond. And welcome to Congregation Beth HaTefillah's annual Brotherhood Shabbat. I'm Paul Glazer, the president of the Brotherhood here, and it's my honor to kind of lead things along this morning. I'd like to thank the rabbi for her trust in lending us the bima tonight, and thank all of you for not immediately standing up and walking out or turning off your live feed. In any event, let's start with a little 2-minute Torah talk. Our Torah parsha this week is Vayetze, and it tells the story of Jacob leaving his home in Beersheba after tricking his father Isaac into a blessing. On his way, he stops for the night, falls asleep with his head on a stone. Apparently the My Pillow guy hadn't been invented yet. And dreams of angels going up and down on a ladder, and of God blessing him with descendants spread out in all directions and with protection wherever he might go. On a roll, Jacob resumes his journey and meets his shapely and beautiful cousin Rachel. And yes, the Torah mentions that she's shapely. Don't send me your complaints. With whom he finds an immediate bond. Later he meets her father, his uncle Laban, perhaps the Torah's first human villain. I'm not sure if not the first, one of the first few human villains in the Torah. After a month, Jacob asks for Rachel's hand, and Laban says, and this is a near quote, "Better you than some other yuts." So Jacob agrees to work for Laban for 7 years. We know what happens next. Kind of like what goes around comes around, Jacob. Jacob works the 7 years, and Laban calls his attention to some local practice requiring that the younger daughter not be married before her older sister. So Jacob winds up having to serve another 7 years, and winds up with not only Rachel, but her older, weak-eyed sister Leah. Yes, the Torah calls her weak-eyed, not my words. And a couple concubines as well. And after another 6 years, a sizable flock of animals. So on the whole, for 20 years, not a bad package for our Jacob. The parsha concludes with Jacob and his now large immediate family and assets fleeing from Laban before the latter tracks him down. And after some negotiation and more dream analysis, an accommodation is reached between the two men in time for the next parsha to begin. So, how does this parsha relate to Veterans Day? I don't know. It's something of a stretch, but Jacob does soldier on in his devotion to Rachel and in keeping his obligation to Laban. Thank you very much. I'll be here in a couple weeks. That's as good as I got. I'm hoping our featured speaker later this evening, David Seligman, may offer more insight, but I have a feeling he might. He might not. Okay. Either way, let's begin our service on page 10.
Hine Matov, Psalm 133. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so it may we by our lives give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generation of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindled light.
Asher kitshanu b'mitzvoto, v'tzivanu l'chag ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat. Join us on page 20 and 21 as we welcome in Shabbat with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Kabbalah
נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה לך דודי. לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו בניך, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי. לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי. לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה לך דודי. לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובתהילה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה לך דודי. לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי. לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. שלום מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון, מלכי השלום.
Page 26, please remain standing.
ויקדע שמי רבה. בעמה דברה קירותנו, וימליך מלכותנו בחייכם ליומכם.
בחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה
מה
ובזמן קריב,
ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מכורה לעולם.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתעשה ויתחדש ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קדושה בריחו לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירם בעלמא
ואמרו אמן.
Page 28.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. Page 30.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly course according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv
Avrahim.
Ahavat Olam, page 32.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu uvkumeinu na'asya bechukecha v'nitzmach v'divrei Torotecha uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki em chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla nege yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olami baruch atah Adonai ohev amon Yisrael ohev amon Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושינתם לבניך, ודיברתם בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Page 38.
All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are God, and we are Israel, your people. You are sovereign and Savior, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from the tyrant's fist. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You perform miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of Egyptians. You led your people, Israel, out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously.
Michamocha, page 40 and 41.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נקרב קודש, נורתי לו, עושה פלא, נורתי לו, עושה פלא. יאי לי לי לי, 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 יאי לי לי לי. מלכותך רבניך, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי לי לי.
Hashkivenu, page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom Amideinu Shomreinu Lechaim.
Spread the shelter of your peace over us.
Spread the shelter of your peace.
Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust.
Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom. Amideinu Shomreinu Lechaim.
Save us for the sake of your name.
Save us for the sake of your name.
Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain.
Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu
More than the Jewish people has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. Vishamru, page 44.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'toratam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Page 46. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha.
Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומיתו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
Page 52.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Page 54.
These things don't go good with hearing aids. You set aside the seventh day for your name, the pinnacle of creation. You blessed it above all other days, more sacred than all festival times. So it's written in your Torah, the heaven and the earth were finished in all their array. On the seventh day, God had completed the work that had been done, ceasing on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy and ceased from all creative work that God had chosen to do. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Would say page 56.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ve'amcha Yisrael, amcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tikabel. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ve'amcha Yisrael, amcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tikabel. U'tehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ve'amcha Yisrael, amcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tikabel. El karov lechol karov, b'nei elav adecha, v'choneinu, shefuch ruchacha aleinu, v'techezenu eininu b'shuvecha v'tzion, berachamim. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ve'amcha Yisrael, amcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tikabel. Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch hu Baruch Shemo.
המחזיר שכינתו לציון.
Amen.
Page 58.
We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the God of the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon, O good one, whose mercies never end, O compassionate one, whose kindness never fails. We forever put our hope in you.
Please join together with our anthem of peace, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lecho hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'tov b'neinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. B'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
At this time, we turn our hearts and our prayers towards those who are broken in mind, body, or spirit, offering them our blessings for healing and wholeness and renewal. Our Misha Berach this evening is found on page 253. Please join.
Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
From our congregational families, we pray for Chris Argall, Nancy Ash, Rabbi Marcy Bellows, Deborah Byrne, Betty Cohen, Amy Cooper, Shar DeGrave, Liz Daniel, Elizabeth Draper, Harvey and Susan Filer, Andrew Fisher, Beatrice Fry, Dean Gavney, Jacob Gluckman, Roger Gluckman, Maxine Goldstein, Stuart Goodman, Ramesh Gupta, Amir Hammer, Ellen Heimberg, Laurel Jonas, Dick Kelvin, Chris Kuntz, Jim Rudisill, Deborah Sanders, Julie Sherman, Jean Schimmel, Pat Swales, Matthew Treehub, Bob Ward, Billy Wolfson, all of those who are lovingly remembered in the live stream chat. And if you have a name you'd like to add, I invite you to do so as our gazes meet.
Sarah von der Hoya.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
I invite you to take a moment of silence.
Oh, say shalom Roma. Uya say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'inu. Oh, say shalom Roma. Uya say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imru.
David Seligman enlisted in the Army Reserves as a construction equipment operator in 1996 and served until 2000. In 2002, he graduated from the University of Kentucky, married his wife Melissa, and then moved to Bozeman, Montana. In 2003, David enlisted in the Army as a topographic analyst. He served in Bagram, Afghanistan in 2004, and Baghdad, Iraq from 2005 to 2006. In 2008, he was selected to attend Officer Candidate School, where he was commissioned as an armor officer. He then deployed to northern Iraq as a cavalry scout platoon leader from 2009 to 2010. In 2015, he was medically retired from the Army as a captain and eventually found his way here to Asheville and to CBHT, where he faces one of his biggest challenges yet, serving on our Board of Trustees. I'm honored to present David Seligman.
Thank you, Paul. That was wonderful. You're still a hero, my kids. I think you're still a hero. That's just from the COVID, the quarantine videos when everything was on Zoom. So I accepted Paul's challenge of seeing if Vayetze would be, which is the parsha for tonight, how it applies to Veterans Day. And at first glance, I was like, yeah, he wins. There's no way. And then as I read it, it resonated with me quite a bit. I had an amazing sermon prepared. It was very well written, typed out, and I threw it away a couple days ago because I just thought I can't do that. I'm going to speak to you guys from the heart here, so a little off the cuff, and be quite a bit vulnerable with these things. So bear with me if I stumble a little bit, because I went against Paul's wise words of always being prepared. All right, so are we on the first slide here? Okay, all right. So that's probably my happiest day in the Army. That was my retirement ceremony day. You can see Melissa and the kids when they were much younger. It was a wonderful day. It was an amazing time. Next slide, please, Kevin. So, all right, the pictures there of northern Iraq. That was my deployment that I was on in 2009 and 10. It's very barren. There's one city where we were, Tal Afar. The other ones were, they were smaller little villages, like in the middle of the desert. They just pop up out of nowhere. And as I read this Torah portion, one of the things stuck with me. So the ground on which you are lying, I'll assign to you and your offspring. Remember, I am with you. I'll protect you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. I'll not leave you until I have done what I have promised to you, is what God tells Jacob in his dream. And I imagine myself, what if, when I first joined the Army, what if I had had that dream? Now, granted, I was a teenager, so I probably wouldn't have paid attention to it, but what if God had told me that? You're going to join the Army, you're going to go to all these places, I'm with you, you're going to be safe. All you have to do is believe. I mean, that would be like the opposite of what I felt every day. There would be no fear. There'd be no reason to just be, an explosion. Like, I'm okay because I know God told me 10 years ago. But that was quite the opposite of what I felt. And I'm not sure if I'd have had that dream at any point that I would have listened or even understood what that meant, because every day I was scared was going to be the last. Truthfully, I was surprised when I came home alive. I was so surprised that I didn't even really know what to do. I was like, I'm not even sure what to do here. This is weird. So the pictures there that you can see, it's an expanse of the desert in northern Iraq. There's probably Syria in the background on the horizon. Where we were was in the from the city of Tal Afar out to the Syrian border, which again, like I said, is just nothing. There are a lot of sheep herders and camel herders. There'll be some pictures later on. You can see in the lower right, there's a house. That was very common. That's a wealthier farmer, and I think that's actually in West Baghdad, not northern Iraq. So forgive me, anybody who's really great with geography and can tell the difference. Apologies. All right, that's a joke. You can laugh, Marty. All right. So next slide, please, Kevin. Oh, we're on that slide. Okay. Hang on a second. Sorry. I just want to make sure that I have everything in order. So who was the enemy? Why was I scared? What were you fighting? What was it? I mean, I'm not going to go into the purpose of why we're there and all those things and some political argument that we could talk about. That's for next week. The rabbi's going to head that one up with Seth. Our enemies, everybody heard them, they're terrorists or insurgents, foreign fighters. To me, like, where did they come from? Again, they came from other countries. Some of them we created on our own. If you kill someone's child, there's a good chance that that brother, sister, mother, father, cousin, or somebody is going to want to take revenge on you. And so there was a saying that we had, if for every bad guy we killed, we create 2 bad guys. So it's just a never-ending cycle of fighting. And I don't know that that's ever, I don't know that there would be a solution to anything. I'm not the guy that could come up with that. But that was why there was a constant state of enemy where we were. Now, who the enemy was, they were not uniformed. I never even saw one, other than people who were detained. And at that point, who knows if they're a bad guy or not, for various reasons. But I never saw one because they were always quick to leave before we got there, or when we left, they would duck out of bushes or in houses or what have you. There were lots of houses in Baghdad, more so than in northern Iraq, but again, I never saw anybody. So if you look the lower left picture, so again, there are no bad guys in any of these pictures. There's no enemy that I know of. But as we're going through these villages, walking, talking to people, doing whatever, those watermelons could be covering a cache of weapons that person is getting paid extra money just to house. That guy there in the tan, I don't remember the name. We called them man jammies. That's not the right term. It's very inappropriate. I'm not sure. I can't remember the word. But maybe that guy is the bad guy. Maybe he's the ringleader of everybody. On the lower right, you see a border fort there with Syria. I worked a lot with the border patrol on the last deployment that I was on, and smugglers were mostly who we were trying to catch. At that point, so that was pretty late in the game in Iraq in 09 and 10, but even then there were some weapons. It was a relatively safe, calm area, especially on the border. It was mostly cigarette smugglers. Iraqis would take cigarettes from one border town in Iraq to Syria to the next border town and sell them, get more money. And they can do that because they can cross into Syria. And if they don't get arrested by the Syrians, which they wouldn't, then they would get arrested or detained when they came back. So it was always a struggle for me to really stomach that I was hunting cigarette smugglers for a little bit. And there was, yeah, you get it. Yeah. It was, it's just not I don't know, I didn't see the threat, but, it's not up to me. So thank you, I appreciate it. So in the upper left there, it looks like cinder block type of homes. Those are newer homes. Those are probably a lot less sturdy than the mud-caked built homes that I'm sure I've got other pictures of. But that's a newer type village or part of the city. Next slide, please, Kevin. All right, so most of the population, I would tell my soldiers this all the time, 99% of the people there are just trying to make a living. They're normal people, just like anywhere else in the world or the country. I mean, normal's relative, I get it, but they're not bad guys, because when I went there the first time, I had in my mind and what people were telling me, and this was in 2005, that more or less everything and everybody were bad, which is not true, because I'll tell you, Baghdad is full of people. And if they were all bad, nobody would have come home. So what were we doing there then? Our job transitioned pretty early on in Iraq to training the Iraqi military, police, and border patrol. So that was one of the things that I was responsible for or part of to help with. So when I was in Iraq the first time in 2005, I was a low-ranking soldier, so I didn't have I just did whatever somebody told me to do. Just go here and stand at that place, and that's what I do. There wasn't a lot of training because I was so low ranking. I would observe a lot. But in 09 and 10, I was a platoon leader, I was an officer, and we oversaw some of the border patrol companies and some of the Iraqi army and police on some occasions. And we oversaw their training to see how well they were doing. And we had to keep in mind that the more stuff we gave them as Americans, because we have a big tendency to just feed armies that we're training all of our logistics, because the logistics and resources that we have as Americans, especially as the military, is just infinite. We had to keep in mind that we're leaving and we're not going to continue giving them their things or our things to fight with or to have all of our resources and everything. So we had to really be able to step back and not give them ammunition, fuel, food. Those are the main things. They had to stand up on their own. And they did. They did for the most part. They complained. They complained all over the place. Oh, we didn't get enough of this and that. Okay, well, that's your fault. But it was tough because we had to decide, are they trained or are they not trained? And there was like a middle ground. You have to come up with, a good enough factor, like a GED level of, okay, thumbs up. And they did all right. They did really well, actually. The Iraqis did. I will circle back to Afghanistan. I was there in 2004, but I was not as involved with the population as I was in Iraq. But at the end, I will touch on that. I just didn't want to confuse the two of them, the two different countries. So one of the main techniques that we used was counterinsurgency operations. And basically, that just means that we were mingling with the locals. It was, don't just look scary and drive by in your vehicles. Don't just stand by your vehicles and look menacing and point your weapons at people you don't want to be near you. It was hang out with the locals, talk to them, be part of the community. Next slide, please, Kevin. Sorry, go back one slide, Kevin. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. So where you see the guy on the right walking through, I mean, that's on the Syrian border, and that's looking for a sign of, smugglers or people walking, just so that we could maybe set up a site at night to find them. They also like to stash weapons and things like that that we'd be able to find. That market on the lower left that you can see, that's the sort of thing that we as Americans drove by quite a bit in our big, huge armored vehicles and never stopped. When you're doing counterinsurgency operations, one of the biggest things to, and it sounds real common sense, but it's got a big name to it, counterinsurgency. But get out and just stop and talk to the people. Maybe buy some of the things they're selling or what have you. And I did that a lot, and I made, hello? It goes a long way to stop and talk to somebody when they don't expect you to, especially on the market and like soccer balls. I'd buy soccer balls from a market like this and take them into a village that was in the middle of the desert that nobody, the kids didn't have soccer balls or something. So, like I said, that sort of thing goes a long way, and not everybody would do that, but I myself can say that I did probably one or two things really well in my time that I was in the Army, and one of them is counterinsurgency operations. And, okay, next slide, Kip. So, as I'd go and talk to the locals in villages or in the city or market or whatever, or in the desert and the Bedouins and stuff, you'll see in the upper left picture, sitting in a Bedouin tent, there were lots of camel herders and sheep herders, and I probably had more tea than anybody should ever have in one day, lots of times. And it's very caffeinated, let me tell you. It's, we'd go to some of these people, and they had nothing. The people in the villages had nothing, but they were always very welcoming, and they'd slaughter a chicken or 2 or 3 for me and the guys in my platoon and get vegetables out of their garden. And I mean, that to me, I mean, it meant a lot, and it was good. It was also scary because, there's threat of being poisoned and all kinds of other things, but it meant a lot. And leaving them with, MREs or something like that is not a great trade-off, in my opinion. But at the same time, it was gaining mutual trust and mutual respect for one another. So on the upper right there, it's just an Iraqi army soldier talking to me about whatever he was talking to me about. But the point was also, you have to gain the trust of not just the locals, but the military and everybody. And when you're working with and partnering with a foreign military, they have to respect you. And there are different forms of respect in the different militaries, and they don't translate well a lot of times. For us, physically fit and being able to run, a mile, 2 miles, and then keep on going is a big sign of respect. That's like a standard that you'd have to meet. Whereas, with Iraqis or Afghanis, it's not happening. They're not going to do that sort of thing. So how do you gain the respect when they don't care about running and the mutual respect isn't given in that way? They will run headfirst into a firefight. A lot of them will. And if you are hiding behind a corner of a building or you're hiding behind something, you immediately lose their respect. So there was a lot of room for people to grow and room to learn with how to partner with these militaries. But it was just a mutual understanding of, we both want to do this job, and neither one of us can show that we're scared to do it. So at the end of the day, running 2 miles meant nothing when, we hold that to like way up here in the standard level in our Army. So with counterinsurgency, as I was saying, I approached it like I was running for mayor of my part of Iraq. And I'd go and I'd talk to people, and I told guys in my platoon, I was like, listen, I'm going to talk to as many people as I can in a day, anytime that we see anybody. So we'd be in the desert going out on some road that nobody's on, and there'd be 1 car, 2 cars that we'd see, and I'd stop and talk to them. We'd see people farming, I'd go and stop and talk to them. At the time, I called it Operation Bedouin Facebook, because I wanted to try to link everybody together through me, which I thought was really funny. Nobody else got a kick out of that. But again, it was very effective to meet everybody and to gain those people's trust and respect. And once you do that, and once I did that, they started talking to me, and they started telling me who the bad people are and where they are. And at that time, it was like low-level criminals, and there wasn't a whole lot we could do, but you know who to deal with, and you learn who you can trust and who you can't trust. Next slide, please, Kevin. All right, make sure we're on the right one here. All right, so this is from a day that we were given a mission we were told not to go into the villages and not to go into, for whatever reason, there wasn't any, I don't think there was any specific thing going on, but they said stay out of the villages, stay out of the towns, just go around the towns, around the canals or in the farm areas, and we're looking for caches and weapons and things like that that people buried. If you look, so in the upper left, that's a typical, you see the canal between us as we're walking. In the lower left, I circle it with a yellow circle. One of the machine gunners, as we're driving by, tells everybody to stop. I don't know how he saw this. I really don't. But there was a mortar round. And you can barely see it. You guys in the back, I'm sure you can't see it. But it's a mortar round that's buried. There were probably 5 or 6 of them that were in that canal there that had dried up. Who knows how long they were there. Anyway, we found those, and it was one of those things that before we went out, everybody was skeptical, and everybody was like, oh my gosh. It was like if anybody's seen the movie Spaceballs, and they're combing the desert, and the guy's like, we ain't found nothing. He didn't say nothing, but it was that was what we were afraid of. But we did find something. Next slide, please, Kevin. So in 2005 in Baghdad, this was, caches were plentiful. And these are all the components that would go into an IED, which I'm sure everybody's heard of. And so these things on the lower left are pressure plates, and the others are the electronics that go into them, the power source, and then the upper right are the explosives and some RPG rounds and ammunition and stuff. The bottom right is what a typical IED blast would look like when it goes off. That car was like a pancake. The guy did live who was next to that. He got out and he was walking around in circles and didn't really know where he was, but he did live. And so with that said, the anticipation of stepping on something or being shot by somebody, every step you take is the worst part of, and the most exciting part of any deployment. It's what makes PTSD so difficult when you come home, because you're just constantly, you can't shut that part of your brain off. So specific events are traumatic, but continuous fear of everything is just, it's just stretching out a rubber band until it just doesn't stretch anymore. Next slide, please, Kevin. So the lower right, I'm sure everybody's heard of a car bomb or a vehicle IED. That's what one of those looks like after they explode and they're on fire. And the upper left, there's some kids, again, mingling with population. I don't know, probably playing soccer with them or something. Lower right, same thing, and then the upper right is just helicopter. We had scout support with this, air scout support. So it's just looks cool in the desert, and it's always fun. Next slide, please, Kevin. These are the vehicles that we used in northern Iraq. They're giant vehicles, giant-sized things, and they take a blast and just keep going. And I had the picture of the sunset on the lower right, just as I've always felt the sunsets in the desert were probably the most beautiful, calming things that I've ever seen, which, when you look at it in an area that is probably one of the worst places on earth and scariest places on earth, where you can stop and it's like, I feel so calm watching the sunset. You just gain a peace of mind. All right, next slide, please, Kevin. All right, so in Jacob's dream, he has messengers, the angels, messengers of God, going up and down the ladders. And, I was thinking, because I was taking Paul's challenge, what is the, who are these angels in this one? And I struggled for a little bit, because I thought everybody, people say, thank you for your service and stuff to me, and I'll take that any day of the week. And people would say, oh, you guys are angels, and you're doing God's work and everything. I would challenge you, look at that lower right picture of those guys. If those guys come walking into your house, or you see them approaching your door, and you'll be like, hey, some angels are here. No, you will not. No, those are some bad dudes. So, I'm not saying we didn't do anything, that we didn't do good things, but like above them, that gorgeous bunch of trio right there, they are the angels, in my opinion. I guess angels are subjective, but to stand by me the entire time, my wife definitely reaches sainthood. now being that we're Jewish, I don't really know much about saints, and I don't think I can, make her a saint anyway. But, in the general sense of the term, I guess she is. So Saint Melissa is how she wants to be referred to from now on. But my interpreter there, he never carried a weapon, never did anything harmful. He was there for me all the time, standing on the Syrian border. He loved to pose for pictures like that. He carried a angelic message. Who are the angels? I don't know. So I don't have that answer for you, Paul. But there were lots of positive things that happened. Next slide, please, Kevin. 2005 was the first post-Saddam election. It was a free election. That was the one, if you remember, seeing people with, they dipped their fingers in ink to show that they voted. That little girl there in the bottom right, you can't see her finger probably, but they let her dip her finger. And it was a great day. I don't remember anything terrible happening. It could have been a horrible, horrible day because there were so many people packed into these small locations. But it really went well. And, that's something that I'll carry with me that was just very positive. Next slide, please, Kevin. Other positive experiences there, meeting with some school teachers. I had an Eid meal, which is, it rounds out Ramadan. When that's over, it's basically like a Thanksgiving-style meal where everybody comes together and you just eat until you're stuffed. We have that huge plate full of camel and rice and some other breads and things. We gave clothing to school children in the upper right. That's me sitting next to a little girl. One of those things is not like the other, I guess. Next slide, please, Kevin. So the Torah portion, it resonated with me because when I was in Iraq, especially in northern Iraq, I felt a really strong connection to the land and to the people. And I didn't know why. And the only reason that made sense is when I read this portion, and God's promise is that these are your people. This is your land, as it goes back generations and generations. And I returned safely. So maybe I did have a dream that Jacob had. I don't know. But you can see in the upper right, I did get to ride a guy's donkey around while we were waiting for something. And that was always fun. In the upper left there is through a very high-powered thermal optic at night. It's a herd of camels on the Syrian border. Next slide, please, Kevin. And I just wanted to put some pictures that I really liked in there. All of the fun things that I did in the Army that were memorable. It wasn't all bad. It wasn't all good, but I had some really fun things. Next slide, please, Kevin. So in Afghanistan, now I'm going to touch on some things here because as the Tikkun Olam Committee has an article that's going to be out in the Menorah, there are a few important things that go along with this. Afghanistan is heavily mined from the Russian conflict in the 80s. It's just, there's flat ground in a lot of areas that's full of mines, landmines, and they're still active, and you can still step on them. This minefield path was cleared, and you walk through the white stakes, and it's safe. The picture on the bottom is just one on top of a mountain. That's where the Afghani basic training for their military is. Next slide, please, Kevin. There are a lot of Soviet-era aircraft on our camp there that were abandoned. There are tanks and stuff. I don't have all kinds of pictures. Typical hut/house in a village on the bottom picture. Now, with that said, a lot of the people in Afghanistan, the job market is slim to none in a lot of ways. When we were there, they got jobs on our base. And they were good paying jobs, and they were regular jobs. Now, it tapers off as we get closer to the U.S. leaving, And then after the Taliban took over Afghanistan and it fell, those people that worked for us, cleaning our toilets and helping empty dumpsters and doing things that I and other people wouldn't want to do, their lives are threatened just because they worked for us. So the Tikkun Olam Committee has, we've been in touch with the Catholic Charities, and they are providing information as far as what we can do to help the Afghan refugees, which there are 40 of them coming to Asheville. And so far there are 13 that have been relocated here. They need things like gift cards to restaurants and grocery stores. They're not asking for a lot of food and clothes. They got an abundance of those things, but having gift cards gives the Afghanis the ability to go into our community and spend the money the way that they want. There will be other things and details coming out as we get them, but so that everybody knows, look live and look in the next menorah for the details of what will be provided to you guys. I appreciate you all listening to me. I hope it made sense. And Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, David. We'd like to proceed with our flag unfurling service, so I'd like to invite any veterans who are here or their family members to come forward, and we'll do the flag service.
This flag belonged to John Birdie of blessed memory. And Shirley Birdie gave it to us so that we might honor not only John's memory, but everybody, families, veterans, in perpetuity. And so it's an honor to see this flag in the hands of members of our congregations and their families. And I offered this blessing. And I just want to say that what was so unique, David, about what you said, because when people like me think about war, I have pictures of what that looks like. But I don't think about a gentle man stopping in a shuk and buying soccer balls. And just the humanity in the inhumanity. So we ask for blessings on all of those who serve and have served their country in the armed forces. We ask for healing for veterans who have been wounded in body and soul in conflicts around the globe. We pray especially for young men and women in the thousands who are still coming home from distant lands with injured bodies and traumatized spirits. Bring solace to them, O God. May we pray for them when they cannot pray. And we ask for an end to war and the dawning of a new era of peace as a way to honor all the veterans of past wars. Have mercy on all our veterans from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. Bring peace to their hearts and peace to the regions in which they fought. Bless all the soldiers who served in non-combative posts. May their calling to service continue in their lives in positive ways. And give us, O God, the creative vision to imagine and build a world which, grown weary with fighting, moves us to affirm the life of every human being, and so moves beyond war. Answer our prayers by helping us build the world of the prophets, a world where everyone can sit peacefully under his vine and fig tree, when nation shall not lift up sword against another nation, nor learn to war anymore. And let us say, Amen. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Stay here. We're going to listen to the bugle.
Please remain standing for the Aleinu on the back cover of your siddur.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shehu asanu l'shomrei ha'adama, vehu samanu l'shlechei ha'torah, shehu sham chayenu itam, vegor aleinu im kol ha'olam. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim livnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Our thoughts turn now to all of those who have departed, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and our neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives are a blessing to humanity. We think now of these from our congregational family who we lost in recent days and weeks: Alfred Hiller, Ruth Chickerill, Marilyn White, Ruth Barger, Janet Weil, Bert Rothman, and Jean Nofel. As well, we acknowledge the yard sites, the anniversaries of the passings of Faye Apt, Arnold Argall, Marna Coldwater, Louis Aaron Cutler, Alfred Deutsch, Elsie Erickson, Sam Friedman, Andrew Jonas, Barbara Joseph, Greta Kleinman, Gertrude Mayer, Morris Miller, Joseph Harrison, Max Rettig, Louise Rubin, Jenny Shockett, and Marion Treehub, as well as all of those who are lovingly remembered in the live stream chat. And if there are additional names to add in memory this evening in the congregation, I invite you to share those names aloud. If you are here in mourning, I invite you to rise so that we might acknowledge your grief. And I invite the congregation to stand beside you as we all turn together to page 294 as we join in the Mourner's Kaddish, praising God for the gifts of life and memory. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chaye chon u'b'yomei chon u'b'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam l'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Amen.
Ve'imru, 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 amen. Ve'imru, 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 amen.
Once again, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you to, I don't know if everyone realizes how much work goes into just presenting a service here. It's amazing the number of hours and efforts from everyone involved. So I really want to thank everyone here. Thank you, Kevin Ring, captain of our stream team, for running our stream and other electronic logistics tonight. And thank you, Frank Goldsmith, for blowing the bugle for us last year. Hopefully he'll be back next year to do it live for us. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Dave Seligman. And thank you, Brotherhooders, who helped make tonight happen. Unfortunately, we're again unable to offer a real food-centered oneg in Dave Hall. But if you'd like to stick around after services, join us for a social oneg in the gallery to see some items brought in from the veterans and their families. Then on your way home, help yourself to a Go Oneg bag courtesy of CBHT Brotherhood. And I again want to thank my lovely wife, Lynn, for having the foresight to order these bags from Amazon, telling me about this a week ago, because there is a brown bag shortage, apparently. Unfortunately, I didn't listen to her, and they just came at 5 o'clock this evening. But thank you, Lynn, anyway. This coming Tuesday, the 16th at noon, is the next Brotherhood Lunchtime Schmooze, this time at Green Tea Japanese Restaurant on Regent Park Boulevard, just off Patton near Sam's Club. Space is limited, so before you sashay for some sushi, say that 10 times real fast, be sure to RSVP to Bob Stein. Cultivating Kavanah is next Thursday at 7 p.m. Join Rabbi in the gallery for meditation and mindfulness. Dave Hall. It's in Dave Hall. Okay, you get the hall. Good. Good for you guys. Sisterhood's Gift Shop is again holding their Hanukkah and Gift Bazaar on November 21st. Mark your calendars. Sisterhood is collecting Ingalls and Walmart gift cards for clients at Helpmate and Jewish Family Services. If you'd like to contribute gift cards to these worthy organizations, please see the details in your Tuesday email on how to participate. Apparently, I'm not allowed to offer more than 2 sisterhood-related announcements at any one time, so Hope, if you'd like to come up and very briefly tell us about another exciting sisterhood event happening this week.
We would have really let you, it's okay. So thanks to Paul and Brotherhood for a lovely service tonight, and Shabbat Shalom. I'm Hope Washaw. I'm the Sisterhood Programs Chair, and on November 18th, which is this coming Thursday from 7 to 8:30, we are going to host our next program. It's a panel discussion about COVID with 3 frontline healthcare providers. 2 of our speakers are CBHT members, physicians, and new members of our Medical Advisory Committee, Shaw Henderson and Sarah Sakata, along with an epidemiologist from Mission Health. So that is going to be held at the Weaverville Community Center on Lakeshore Drive. Everyone from the community is welcome, and there's no charge for the event. So we'd love to have a great showing for our speakers. RSVP to me at the following email, sisterhoodcbhtrsvp@gmail.com, hopefully by Tuesday, the 16th. And there are notices about this in a variety of flyers, but again, that's sisterhoodcbhtrsvp@gmail.com. And I'll be outside, and Phyllis Nalick, who
is back there, has several flyers, if anyone wants to take one. So again, thank you.
Hope, thanks for letting us squeeze in here at Sisterhood Shabbat. So that's all we've got. So Shabbat Shalom.
One more thing.
Don't go anywhere. This is my way of saying Shabbat Shalom. Now to the regular scheduled broadcast.
One last thing, just in case you don't know, we are planning a trip to Peru in June. So if you want to know more about that, ask Cindy and Alan Filer, who are signing up. But I'll be going, and it's going to be a spiritual, contemplative, tikkun olam pilgrimage. So if you like any of those ideas, come with us to Peru. It would be wonderful to be together and find our connection to a foreign land in a deep way. So with that, when we sing at the end of a service, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, I will build the world with love, we really mean the world, not just this world and the world. So those were the words we chose, the music team chose with Paul to end this service. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, let us build this world from love. I will build it, you must build it, and if we build it, then perhaps God will come and tell us, I'm your partner too, and help us build. Please rise.
Olam Chesed Yibaneh,
Olam Chesed Yibaneh.
Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Olam Chesed I will build this world from love. And you must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love.
Olam Chesed.
Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Olam Chesed
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And thank you to the brothers. Shabbat Shalom to those of you who are at home. We love you. We miss you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.